You have to genuinely see for yourself that what you desire above all else is to be happy. You wish yourself well. You want to be happy all the time. The mistake you make is that you believe this happiness is dependent on the state of your circumstances. If this is going perfectly, if I have this object or not, if I have achieved this certain feat in my life yet or not. So you see, the moment you create these conditions, or more so when you buy into these conditions, which have been sort of conditioned within you, in your mindset, you have grown up with these conditions that the world has bombarded you with. So we grow up believing that this is life, that these things that I'm chasing, these preferences, my desired happiness, right? That is based on these conditions. That is what is real. So you come across this teaching, which urges you to actually investigate your experience and see if this is true or not. And the more you take this invitation, you come to realize that your happiness doesn't need to be conditional when you're just constantly looking outwards. And if the conditions are met, then I'm feeling good. If the conditions are not met, then I must be miserable. And then I must find a solution to my misery. And until I fix everything and until everything is the way that it should be, until then I cannot be happy. You see, this is our mistake. So you have to look into this moment here and now in your experience and see what is holding you back from being happy. You do not need something to be happy, right? There's a famous quote, you do not need something to be happy, but you need something to make you sad. So right now, what is keeping you from being happy? You'll notice it is your own preferences and resistances that are keeping you from being happy here and now. For example, you like, bright sunny days. That is your preferred weather. But it's weather, and weather is changeful, very unpredictable, just like your circumstances, just like your own thoughts. And today is a cloudy day. In fact, it is, as I look out the window. And so the moment it's a cloudy day, now already something is like, you hear people say all the time, like, today's such an ugly day outside. What's ugly about the clouds? What's ugly about the rain? So then we start believing in these preferences themselves. We don't ever really look. And this is just a minor example, but this becomes like a template belief, and this preference is so bought into. And now every single time it's a cloudy or rainy day, there's something within that's already resisting that. And so what I'm inviting you to look at is your own preferences and resistances, which you have unconsciously assumed and bought into. The moment you find yourself being unhappy, please look. I bet that you have a certain preference, that you have a certain attachment to this is how it should be, and this is how it should not be. What is detachment? What is wisdom? What is maturity? It is being able to look at these thoughts, these preferences, and being able to not buy into what they are saying. Believe it or not, it is that simple. It's not a form of ignoring. It's not a form of being in denial or faking or pretending to be happy. Trust me, you cannot pretend to do this. If you pretend, it'll just be, you'll just try to replace your thoughts of preferences and resistances with other thoughts saying that, oh no, I should practice this teaching and I want to be happy and I'm happy. It'll be very inauthentic. The only way this natural happiness, this general joyfulness will surface more and more for you is if you, within any circumstance, learn to Become aware of the very preferences and resistances arising in mind right now. Your own judgments about what is here, about what should not be here and what should be here. Your own interpretations, your own desires, your own fears. You must learn to acknowledge them and not reject them, but certainly not buy into them. You must simply see and let be. Just like you see a stranger on the street, you, like if you're walking by a stranger, you just see and then you carry on. Did you know that you can do this with your thoughts? If you don't believe it's possible, it's because you have never genuinely tried and practiced this teaching. There's a great power in this teaching. It allows you to transcend your conditional happiness. It allows you to go beyond believing in every thought that arises. Because you believe in all these conditions, you also believe in all the other nonsense thoughts that arise. Maturity, wisdom, detachment is learning to see how the mind is just always producing some sort of judgment, some sort of interpretation, and learning to recognize that I am not choosing for these to arise. This voice that I claim to be my own, to be myself, is just acting out on its own. You can call it like your little child that's just always acting out. But the child may be yours, it's not you. So rather than constantly reacting to what the child is doing or saying, you must learn to simply look at it. You must remain as you are, the witness of it. And by learning to just see it and not buy into everything that it is saying, you will see that you will naturally be more peaceful, joyful. And then from this joyfulness, you will see a great circumstantial change as well. Because you see, when your happiness is conditional, you're always just fluctuating between happy, sad, positive, negative, pleasant, unpleasant. But when you yourself are more stable and you yourself are joyful, regardless of what the situation is, regardless of what the current circumstance demands of you, then you are operating with a whole different clarity. Just reminisce of your past. When you've been miserable and when you're suffering within, you only create suffering in your own experience and the experience of others in your life. But when you yourself are joyful, you only create happiness for yourself and others. And so trust me when I say, when you yourself are operating from a much more stable position, this deeper witness of your mind rather than the mind itself, then you will experience that greater stability, and that joyfulness will penetrate outwards. You see, everything flows from the subtle. Okay, so everything that you perceive as so real and solid and physical and material, the source of it is subtle. Everything follows its subtler component, relies on its subtler component. And so from within, when you are exuding this sort of stability, this joyfulness, everything on the outside follows in alignment, in accordance. So you must learn to live with a certain level of alertness, of aliveness, of awareness, through which you can actually even look at your preferences rather than just always being immersed outside, right? Because your preferences are always just about the outside. So you live from here. So rather than living just from here, you bring even this into your conscious seeing. And naturally, a silent space of detachment will be cultivated within you, where you'll be able to look at these preferences and resistances arising, and you will come to see their foolishness. You will come to see that I need not buy into these and live by these. These are just things that I've picked up. These are just things that I've bought into based on my cultural conditioning, societal, based on me looking outside and comparing my experience to others. All this stuff is just a recycling of all the stuff that I've accumulated. And I do not need to let this accumulation of past, direct my now and what's to come. Again, this is maturity. This is wisdom. This is the natural capacity which silence, which witnessing what is arising cultivates within you. And this will put you in a position transcendent of these preferences and resistances. And it will be a great freedom that I invite you to explore. If you find this difficult and it is something that you need help with, if you wish to finally stop being a puppet of your own mind, then I invite you to join us in my Higher Consciousness Shift program, in which I will help you dissolve mind identification through self-inquiry. Details for that are in the description box below. Please take a look at it, see if it resonates with you, and take a leap of faith. You will not regret it. That's all for me for today. I will see you in the next video.